Hello, welcome to Dragon HQ and Dragon Studio. I'm Caroline Mitchell, the original Dragon Lady. So, dragons, what about them? Fascinating and interesting energies to work with. So, dragons have come into our collective consciousness over the last few years. Much more so over probably the last 5. I began working with them properly in 2005, and I met them, but I initially met them in 2002. So why have they joined our collective consciousness? They've been waiting in the wings for us to be ready. So there's sort of 2 distinct groups to dragons. This is my understanding to date from what I've learned from them. So the first guys that came in those early years were here to help with the heavier lifting of mankind. They were here to help, and they're still here to help us heal, grow personally, spiritually. They do shadow work. They're here to support our physical 3D journey through life. And these guys can work with the heavier energies that we occasionally find ourselves in. And then much more recently, really over the last year, there's been another set of dragons that have come in. And they're on a frequency change. And they're a much lighter, for a better word, a much lighter energy than the original dragons that came in. And there's a few sets of them, and groups of dragons called clans, by the way. So the other dragons that are coming in now are on a different frequency, and they're much more to do with our spiritual evolution. Now, some people call this ascension. For me, that doesn't resonate fully. I think the dragons have said to me spiritual evolution, and that fits better for me. So they'll do with our spiritual growth, our spiritual learning, and the subtleties of energy that we find ourselves in. So they work with the matrix, and there's 3 different matrices, if that's the correct word. We have the galactic matrix, we have the earth matrix, and then we've got the crystal matrix. Some people call them grids. To me, the dragons told me they're a matrix or matrices, so that's what we work with. So their role is to support us in so many ways, spiritually, emotionally, physically, healing. But it's all about our growth as humanity, our growth of unity. The dragons like unity. They say there's been too much duality in our existence over the centuries, decades, whatever. And they're about unity. They want us to do our healing in whatever way we need to. They encourage us to dive into our spirituality and develop in what way suits us for our spiritual work, whether that be planetary, whether it be supporting others through healing, whether it be using one of the clairs, whether it be through using cards, whatever your spiritual interest is, the dragons encourage us to follow it, but follow it with integrity and humility. They have been around since the dawn of time. And they tell me they actually helped create the fabric of the universe, because they do sacred geometry, they do color, they do frequency, they do vibration, they do sound. There's basically nothing the dragons can't get involved in. They're so diverse, and everyone will see them and work with them in a slightly different way. There are not any fixed rules with working with dragon per se. There's some ground rules to work with, but ultimately, the dragons are about following what's right for you. And they talk about us stepping into our power, owning who we are, being our true selves, that integrity, about dropping judgments. And they teach us all of these kind of things because we're all magnificent human spiritual beings here with a job to do. And the dragon's role is to support us along this journey of life. And that's why they're here. So wherever you find yourself along your spiritual quest, the dragons will support you. And the easiest way with dragons is to to communicate with them is to meditate. Bear in mind, dragons don't always speak as in language, because they don't have a formal language. So they'll talk to you in lots of other ways, through the universe, synchronicity, through claircognience, clairsentience, clairvoyance. And if you're very lucky to hear dragon, because they are very adaptable and they are learning language, but their sentences are very, very short and very clipped. They are creatures of few words. They'll why use 10 when one will do. So the dragons are all encompassing, and they've been in every culture throughout history, haven't they? And they're here to work and support us along our spiritual path, well, wherever that journey takes you. And they encourage you to be brave, to follow your truth, to honor yourself, humanity, and the planet. That's why we have dragons. I look forward to connecting and working with you and your dragons. With love and gratitude.